Hey everybody, this is Pastor Chris. I'm coming to you live from Lexington Park Baptist Church. This is PC Studios, and this is January the 4th, 2023. It's got to get that in my head, 23. Everybody getting that down, the new year. I signed a check the other day with 22 on it, right? Yeah, so I guess we all do that occasionally. So anyway, good to be with you here today. If you want to be with us live in this hour, you need to be on Facebook.com/Pastor Chris McCombs. However, you could be on any of the channels going out on Caster, on YouTube, or Facebook. We're glad you're just with us. Even if you're watching after hours, after it's not live anymore, thank you for being a faithful audience, and thank you for joining me in this new year. So again, Happy New Year. Get to say that a couple more times this week, but good to have you here. A lot of things. I'm wearing pink today. We are doing this for everybody. Our office does this occasionally for Doreen, but doing this, wearing the pink for, I've even got pink socks on. Yeah, anyway, I digress. Let's get back on topic. Doing this, though, to promote awareness for breast cancer, cancer of all kinds, but breast cancer specifically I know is the pink. So anyway, being there, and we're with you, Doreen, if you ever watch this. So anyway, with that being said, a lot of prayer requests I just want to live up to you. A lot of people getting surgeries right now, a lot of people with health issues, so you've got Waylon that's at home in hospice. You've got Gary Spencer that's really struggling. Of course, we're continue to remember the Rouse family as Ann passed away, and I did her funeral this last week. So remember those families. But then you had Diana Dixon had surgery. You have James Langford's going in for major surgery this week. So you've got a lot going on, some health issues, operations, and just be mindful of one another. Life can sometimes be hard on us. People going through personal struggles. We all have stuff going on in our life. And, I was watching Dennis Prager. I don't know if y'all know him or not, but it doesn't really matter. I like the guy, but I watch Fireside Chats with him. And, he and this is so true. He says a lot of people come up and say, "Hey, Dennis, I hope everything is well with you. Everything going well." And, he just laughed and he goes, think about that. Who has everything going well? Let's be honest for a minute. I know our word for this is going to be grateful. We want to be grateful. We want to be appreciative. We want to be positive. Those are things you want to hear in this new year. Our church needs to be positive. We need to be faithful. We need to be grateful. We need to be those are thankful. Those are things we need to do. Gracious, merciful, all that kind of stuff. So, but think about it. Everybody's got something going on, even as good as it is. Is that not true? If it's going well for you, good for you. But probably no one's got it going perfectly well, right? We all have little things or struggles or concerns or anxieties or little problems and burdens, and sometimes they're big, so we've all got it. So we've all been there. So anyway, I just want you to be aware of that and be mindful of others. Be mindful of your own selves. But let's be mindful of others so that we're considerate of others. And that kind of gets us into what we'll talk about maybe tomorrow more than today. But today I want us to look at this reality that we now face. The former ways are supposed to be gone because we are a new creation. So the former ways that we used to know, right, the things we used to do, because we're now in Christ, which tomorrow will be the focus. They're gone. They're supposed to be gone. And so let's turn our focus to those things now so that we can focus on a bigger picture of things. So I'm going to be in Ephesians 4, and we're going to focus just on verses 17 through 19 today. And it says, "Therefore I say this, and I testify in the Lord. You should no longer walk as the Gentiles do in their futility of their thoughts. They are darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them and because of the hardness of their hearts. They have become callous and gave themselves over to promiscuity for the practice of every kind of impurity with a desire for more and more." May God add a blessing to his holy word and give us greater understanding. So what Paul is doing, if you ever heard somebody, does anybody have a testimony? That's kind of what Paul's doing here. He is testifying in this moment. He is testifying to the things of God. Now, verses 20 on are going to transition us to a different element of this new creation that we are. In fact, we can at least look at verse 22, we are supposed to take off the former way of life, the old self that is corrupted in deceitful desires, so that we can be new in the spirit of our minds and put on the new self, created in God's likeness. And again, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But if we're going to put on this new self, right, that's righteous and pure and truth, then we're supposed to be putting off this old self. So what is that exactly? And what he is saying here is, listen, you are no longer like the Gentiles. Now, what is he meaning? Because all of us, most likely in my audience, are Gentiles and not Jews. So they would have understood that to be people of the world. You are no longer of the world. You're no longer part of that, and you're now part of God's people. So if you are in Christ, and we say these former ways are gone, the former ways that are gone is we are now God's people. You are not of the world. Yes, you're in it. Yeah, I mean, we live it, and we have flesh, and we still have real problems. I just discussed that, right? There's still, just because we come into Christ, you know, the good news of great joy and peace on earth, you know, it's kind of like we don't get to really always experience that. He's really talking, the good news begins here, but we won't see it into full fruition until eternity. So what's going on then? This old self's got to go. This old self has got to be a thing of the past. And so we no longer live or walk like the Gentiles do, like the world. And it says, in the futility of their thoughts. Now, I know this sounds critical. This sounds harsh to say this. There are brilliant minds that are not Christians. There are brilliant people that do great things. There are good people, moral people. Some people are smarter and more moral that are of the world than Christians are. Think about that one for a minute. It shouldn't be so. We should have the mind of Christ. We should have the heart of Christ. We should have the values of Christ. But so we're no longer walking in the world. Their thoughts are futile. Now, what is he not saying? It doesn't say that somebody can't be an intellectual. Not saying that somebody can't be a moral being or a good person. That has no relevancy, actually. I mean, we want people to be intellectual. We want people to be moral. We want people to be good. We do. We do want that for everyone. Do we not? Yes. And we want goodness for people. We want blessings for people. But in reality, their thoughts are futile because they're void of God. A mind that's void of Christ, a mind that's void of God, is futile. Just let that sit in. It's sobering thought. It should be intoxicating to us in a good way, right? To know this truth, that our minds don't have to be futile. Our thoughts don't have to be futile. Listen, why? Because they are darkened in their understanding. It doesn't mean they can't understand. They're darkened in their understanding of how they view the world, how they view life. This is why people can support abortion. This is why people can support stuff like gay marriage and stuff that's opposite of God. This is why some people can justify different activities that they may participate in that may be immoral to us, but by society standards, strip clubs or whatever. I mean, I could go through a laundry list of things, right? Gambling and again, I'm not saying that we cannot partake. We shouldn't partake in those things. So, but or the drinking industry. I'm not saying a Christian can never drink, but being drunk or the bar scenes or this and that. Those are things that we just don't participate. We don't partake in. They may have been in our lives in the past, but they're not now. They should not be, at least, right? So their minds are darkened in their understanding, and what? They're excluded from the life of God. Listen, if you don't have Jesus, you don't have life. Your thoughts are futile, your understanding's darkened, and you don't really have life. You can't live the fullness of life without Jesus because Jesus is life. Just like you can't know the fullness of love without God because God is love. So if Jesus is the resurrection and the life, and God is love, we can't really know the fullness of love without God. And we cannot know And by the way, let's just finish this thought on love. We can't know the fullness of love because God is love until we know God, right? And because for God so loved the world, he sent Jesus, we got to know Jesus so that we know the love of God. While we were yet sinners, Christ demonstrated his love for us in this way. He died for us through Christ. Well, to know Christ then is to know love. To know Christ then, if Christ is, I am the resurrection and life, anyone who believes in me, though they die, they will live. That blows our mind away. That means to know life is to know Christ. So to know love is to know Christ. To know life is to know Christ. Right here it says, their thoughts are futile, they're darkened in their understanding, and they're excluded from the life of God. Why? Because of the ignorance that is in them and because of the hardness of their hearts. Listen, there are some people that are so smart, but they're ignorant. They're ignorant to God. And that says then that they're ignorant. Then it says that they have hardness of hearts. Listen, first of all, Christians can act in ignorance and Christians can have hardened hearts too. So we have to be careful. We can dibble and dabble and participate in some of this darkness to ourselves. Futile thoughts, darkness of living, they should be gone though. Those things are gone. So our thoughts should be different. Our understanding should be different. Our life should be different. Our heart should be different. Our intellect about God should be different. We no longer have to be ignorant to the things of God, and we no longer have to have hardened hearts that refuse to accept God in. We can let Christ into our lives. That is the things that are gone. Now, he goes on, though. The people that remain hostile to God, remain against God. Even listen, they could be intellectuals. Again, like I'm saying, they can be intellectual, they can be good people, they can be moral people. That's not the standard here. If they're not in Christ, all that I've said is true. It was said about you and me. We once were these things because we didn't have Christ, right? So, but they become callous and they gave themselves to promiscuity and they practiced every kind of impurity with the desire for more and more. So, I said Sunday that I have a friend of mine, the best man in my wedding, and a dear friend, I think from about age grade 6 on. Steve was one of my dearest friends. Limited contact now, but I still contact and have contact, and grew very close with his mother in faith over the years. Kay's with the Lord now. But Steve's went into clinical psychology, and got his doctorate. Worked at University of Kentucky for a while, I think some other places, and he's tenured now at University of South Carolina. And he does research with lab animals, mostly with rats. And part of his studies have been to study addiction and specific federal narcotics and illegal drugs. All right, so he's got a federal license. He does all this legally. He does tests, gets grants, gets all that kind of jazz. I don't know all the details, but I know that some of the things he shared with me is the addiction that, how you work with these animals. I had to work with pigeons in my undergraduate. But rats and pigeons and things, they have like a light or a tapper, and they learn behavior modification. They learn to reinforce that if I hit the thing 3 times, I get whatever I'm looking for, food or whatever. And you can train an animal to do that. So in drugs, once they get the tap and they get it, they will chase certain drugs and they'll OD. They'll just it doesn't matter if you every 20 will give you a hit. They will not stop. If they know, they'll just keep chasing it until they get it. So some things are that addictive. And here's what I think God is saying in the word here is those that practice these kinds of promiscuity, and he's not just talking about sexual stuff. Promiscuous is I'm so obsessed with it and so over in it and promiscuous. I do it more over and over and over again. So promiscuity and sex, as I'm promiscuous, it means I'm very, very active in sexual conduct and sleep around, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times we think of it only sexual terms, but I want you to think of it as being promiscuous as in overindulging in other things in life, and they've become callous in their hearts and their minds. They're impure, and they now desire more and more of the impure things. Impure things are the things that are not of God. It can be sexually, but it can be drugs. It can be any obsession, anything of the world. They're so obsessed with it. They lavish themselves in it. They desire it so much, and it says they desire it more and more. See, Satan is enticing. He is, you all. The world is luring in. And the people of the world want more and more of the world. They're promiscuous in the pursuit of the things of the world. We actually should be promiscuous in pursuit of God. That might sound strange. We should desire God more and more. They desire the world more and more. They don't desire the things of God. They desire the things of the flesh. Listen, this is not being critical of people or mean. Again, intellectual, moral, good people can do this. God has already said the darkness of our hearts, the hardness of our hearts, the futility of our thoughts, our lack of understanding. We don't have life outside of God. All of this is what is now gone. This is the beauty of this. The things I just said, and you, if you know Christ, they are gone. They're gone. You're not to have, you're not to partake of those things. You're not to be a part of it. I'm not asking you to be a goody two-shoe. We need to have fun. We need to enjoy life. In fact, Jesus is life. We should enjoy life. Jesus is love. We should know love. We should be the best lovers in the world. We should love each other with great kindness and compassion, none compared to no one else. We should use our minds for the greatness of God. We should give our hearts completely and fully to God for his use. We should be new. The ways and the things of how God has desired us, we should live out fully, because God has let the old go and the new has come. And so that's kind of what this newness is all about. Let the old go in your life. Maybe you have some regrets. Let them go. Maybe you have some failures, even just last year. This is a new year. Make it new. Maybe even yesterday. Make it new. Let's try to practice the things of Christ, like love and mercy and grace and forgiveness and kindness and gentleness. All the fruits of the Spirit, by the way. And try to be better people for Christ. Try to use our minds for Christ. Try to use our hands and our feet for Christ. Try to use our life for Christ, to honor him. Try to use our love like the love of God, to love each other and to love him. Hey, listen, the old has gone. You can hold on to it all you want, but the old has gone. If you know Jesus, you need to let go of it. Let go of those anxious thoughts. Let go of those anxious things. Let go of those sinful things. Let go of those things that hold you back from your full potential. Because in this new year, guess what I want to see? I want to see you reach your full potential. I want you to be in the fullness of Christ. I want you to be equipped. I want you to enjoy the things that God has given you. I want you to be the best you can be. Guess what? Every year, more and more of the old will go, and more of the new will come. Let's embrace the new. Hey, that's all I've got for you today. I hope this blesses you. I hope it encourages you. I hope it challenges you to be a better you in this new year. Hey, God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow here at noon hour, and we'll finish up the sessions for the week. God bless you.